Changes in what we have to reveal when we apply for insurance are due to come into force over the next 12 months. Under current law, which goes back more than 100 years, anyone applying for insurance has a duty to disclose, quote, all material facts, even things the insurance company doesn't specifically ask a question about. And one thing that's always a material fact is having a criminal conviction. That can stop the millions of people with a criminal record struggling even to insure their car. Like this listener who emailed us.
I accept that I did wrong and I've been punished by a suspended prison sentence, but I had no idea that I would also lose all my insurances. I'm now finding it extremely difficult to find any companies who offer the policies I want, even at a higher premium. And though I can understand individuals being critical of what I did, I can't see why companies can argue that their risk is increased.
Well, that's a question, I think, for Christopher Stacey from the reformed offenders charity Unlock. He told me he doesn't understand why insurers take a criminal record of any sort as a reason to refuse insurance.
I can certainly see the argument that some unspent convictions are relevant to some insurance, but I think the current blanket approach is less to do with insurers not wanting to insure them because they think they're too high a risk. It's more that they don't have the systems in place to properly risk assess.
So what are the changes that are coming in?
There's two sets of changes. The first, in regards to insurance law, is that the government have recently passed the Consumer Insurance Disclosure and Representations Act. That basically abolishes the duty to volunteer information, and rather you only have to answer the questions that are put to you by an insurer. You have to answer them honestly and reasonably and to the best of your knowledge.
Doesn't that mean, though, that when this comes into force, insurers will simply change their questions, so they will all include questions now about unspent convictions?
We certainly hope not. We've made contact with many insurers over the years, and certainly it will remain the case that for buildings and contents insurance, people with unspent convictions won't be able to get cover because those companies are already asking questions anyway. The particular area that this change relates to is in motor insurance and non-motoring convictions. Now, you're absolutely right, it's perfectly possible for insurers just to ask questions about that. Our response to that would be that many motor insurers over the years have said to us, look, we do not need to know about non-motoring convictions. Now, once the law is clarified and you only have to answer the questions that are put to you, hopefully insurers will stand by their word as to how they've previously underwritten policies and not wanted to know about non-motoring convictions.
But on Moneybox, we've done many stories about people who do engage in false accidents and make false claims. Couldn't an insurer reasonably think that someone who had a conviction, for example, for deception, might well be more likely to make a false claim?
They may well be entitled to think that. I don't believe that the evidence of people with convictions shows that that's the case. Those insurers that have insured people with convictions haven't experienced that at all. The other big change, importantly, is hopefully we will see, and this isn't guaranteed yet, it's going through Parliament at the moment, but we'll hopefully see changes to the Rehabilitation of Offenders Act, where the periods by which convictions become spent will be significantly reduced, much more in line with reoffending data. Now, what that will mean is hopefully that people whose conviction previously will never become spent, some of those people will get the opportunity in the future to have their conviction become spent. We hope that that will be on the statute book and in force by hopefully the end of this year, which will make a big difference.
And so when your conviction is spent, if somebody says to me, have you ever been convicted of an offence, you can lie and say, no, I haven't, even though that's not true, because it's spent and no one can inquire into it.
That's correct, yeah. If you look at insurance particularly, if an insurance company says to you, have you ever been convicted, and your conviction is spent, you are legally entitled to say no. So it is a legal lie. In relation to employment, that's slightly different depending on whether the job is entitled to know about spent convictions. So jobs that involve CRB checks are usually entitled to ask about spent convictions as well.
Christopher Stacey from the reformed offenders charity Unlock, CRB, of course, Criminal Records Bureau.